Yeah, fitness trends, right? There's
always something.
God, it's tough to keep up. I mean, I lose track super easy on this stuff. But somebody's always reminding me or sending me something. Go, hey, what do you think about that? Thank God for that, because I don't have the time to try and keep up. And then it's interesting. Sometimes I'll get it like right at the beginning, and I go, "Oh, this is weird." And then all of a sudden, like a couple weeks later, it starts just showing up in my feed, or other people. All of a sudden, everybody's seemingly talking about it, and then we're like, I feel compelled at that point, like, okay, we should probably address this because it's kind of becoming a popular topic. I'm sure people have questions, and if we can provide direction, and I like to get into those discussions in here because oftentimes I learn stuff from you guys. We're doing that to try to keep my finger on the pulse. So there's a few that are going on right now. I want to talk about this business of training to failure. Rep ranges, doesn't matter how many reps and such you do. It's more about just training to failure. I think it's led to I was certainly confused by it. I didn't really get it. I know there's been a couple of studies out there, but I think they're very vague. And a couple I think is actually being generous. It's not very many at all that have caused like this stir for whatever reason. Now everybody's all fired up and wound up about it, and it's all over the interwebs. What can you tell us, Ryan? I mean, you're more on top of this stuff than I am.
Well, I think there's people running a lot there's been a couple studies that show, you can build muscle with any rep range from 5 upwards to 30, as long as you're training close to failure within that 2 to 3 reps in reserve or at failure. So I think people are taking a few studies, which people love to do, and changing their whole training protocols, their whole training splits, their whole training, and especially if they feel they're an evidence-based coach or an optimal coach. They're doing this with all their clients. Everyone's just training to almost close to failure in every single block of their training. So I'm seeing that a lot.
Yeah. Where's this coming from? Like, so I see the influencer thing is interesting to me on the fitness side of things. It goes through like cycles, and you see things pop in and pop out. But so many kids getting into young guys, specifically, but there's this female end of it too. I just think, for whatever reason, when I'm looking at it, I see more males into it than other males with regard to the workout side specific to physique training. I'll be honest. If I see the females doing it, all I see is their ass and their tits. And I'm like dislike or uninterested, So like, I don't need to see that stuff. These kids it's fucking porn in the gym.
Yeah.
It sucks. Like, I'm just over it. It's weird to me. Like, it's always been part of it. The aesthetics piece. I mean, let's be honest, the female form is beautiful. And I don't think there's a straight man out there that doesn't like looking at that stuff, but I don't need to see it fucking coming across. Like, in the gym, there's a time and a place for everything. Right. And then there's this whole other aspect that we don't need to get into from a cultural perspective on kind of what's going on with, guys are creepy in the gym. I'm like, there's nothing creepier than seeing a chick pull with her shorts pulled up her ass and her boobs hanging out, like filming herself in the gym. Like, this just creep. Like, what the? Yeah. Anyhow, my point
here to work out.
Yes, yeah, jeez,
not perform.
My point of saying that is like the young dudes that are all over the internet right now and have like some pretty tremendous physiques for their age. I have to, I'm being honest, I'm impressed by it. But I'm also a little concerned by it. And I'll give you an example. Like, it was in the late 90s. It was 97, maybe 98, 99. I went to the Mr. Olympia show. It was in Las Vegas. It was at the Mandalay Bay, casino resort thing. It was huge. The likes of Flex Wheeler, Ronnie Coleman. Gosh, who else was there? Like, Kevin Levrone was in that show. Okay. I mean, back in the day, I believe it was there's just a ton of people in the show. Like, I was following that thing pretty good. But we were walking through the expo, and this is what I wanted to say about that. Jay Cutler was starting to come onto the scene.
Okay.
He'd been on the scene for a little while, but he was really starting to come on the scene and starting to compete. I believe he was even in the show. He wasn't going to win, but he'd made it to the stage. Obviously, he was an IFBB, up and coming dude, and we all know what Jay Cutler did, down later in his life, but he couldn't have been more than about 22, 22 years old at this point. And at that point, I was like 26, 27 years old. So I had a couple of years on him. I remember standing next to him, looking at him going, what in the fuck is going on? How does a 22-year-old look like this? You know, when there's obvious stuff that goes into that, into that. It's part of the lifestyle. It's part of the thing. That wasn't my point though. Even with all that, even with the PEDs, and whatever they knew about nutrition and training, he was just massive.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of the guys out there. You guys know this dude, Sam Sulik?
Yes.
That's his last name, right? Sam
Sulik.
Sulik.
I don't know.
I know
I'm
you're
the bodybuilding team.
Totally totally not aware. But anybody listening to the show that kind of follows that knows exactly.
I followed more performance athletes versus bodybuilders back in the day.
Yeah.
That was my realm.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah, this guy is blown up right now. This is a current guy blown up.
How is he, Ryan? Like, do you know?
I think he's like 21.
What's his name?
Sam Sulik.
Sulik. Yeah, I just saw him, honestly, not that long ago, like a few months ago. I didn't heard about him.
I mean, the whole shtick is the dude is massive. I mean, this kid is huge.
Yeah.
And just spends his whole day vlogging, basically. Puts it on the internet, shows his workouts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Look at that kid.
Damn.
And I think he was actually like a diver before.
No
not that long ago.
way.
He's a diver.
Like as in
collegiate
diving
diver?
boards? Like
diving boards.
That's the sport of diving.
Yeah. Yes.
It's wild, right?
Not that long ago, too.
I mean, and so the guy's just full of some stuff to say, right? As he's working out, and the results show for themselves. Kind of what he's doing. The kid works out hard. I mean, he's constantly working out and constantly eating. You know, vlogs his grocery store trips to buying ice cream and cakes and pies and whatever it takes to get the calories in.
Yeah.
From swimmer. He was a swimmer.
Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know what surprises me, or what doesn't surprise me, sorry, but what I guess just comes up for me here is like people are looking at it going, the guy's eating what, could be, called shit, or whatever, if you wanted to. But again, his goal is to put on mass. And because of the things that he's doing from a workout, maybe nutrition, maybe PED perspective, he does maintain a fairly low body fat percentage. The dude's not fat. He's not like a long time ago, guys used to get really over fat during the off season and then cut. This guy's staying pretty lean. All of those things, there was a time, and I want to say it's probably maybe close to 15 years ago now. You may remember these guys. Remember the whole "if it fits your macros" guys?
Yeah.
Remember those dudes?
Yep.
They're just like that guy. It doesn't matter what you eat, as long as, you could be eating Pop-Tarts, whipped cream, and M&Ms. As long as the macros worked out at the end, you could stay lean and put on muscle. Now, of course, they weren't talking about the PEDs they were doing, but these were a bunch of, for lack of a better term, a bunch of fraternity kids that were very lean, and seemingly looked very fit because they were chasing this physique lifestyle. And I don't want to get too far into the rabbit hole on this, but that was really popular for a while, and people, it just create this huge buzz about like you can eat. It's not about the quality of your food. It really is about the numbers at the end of the day and the tracking, and everything was going into an app, and they were literally eating like that was the whole thing, is they would show themselves with their shirts off, and then they're at the frozen yogurt store or the ice cream shop or whatever, just eating shit with gummy bears and whipped cream and whatever else on top because it fit into the macro, profile at the end of the day. And that went on for I want to say a good couple of years. And then they just disappeared. Like it just disappeared. And there was one of those guys that popped up later who ultimately turned out really unhealthy. I don't know what happened to the rest of those guys, but all the gains, so to speak, were gone. He just looked like shit. He'd been running his body into the ground in a lot of different ways. The point of that is the trend, right? And how that picked up. And man, everybody was like, yeah, I can eat ice cream. And that's where the fucking gummy bears showed up.
Yeah.
So the pre-workout gummy bears, it showed up during that time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be honest. When I started lifting near that time, I was doing it. I was out on the floor. I'd be hitting a heavy set of deadlifts, and in between sets, I'm eating gummy bears and Sour Patch Kids and all this stuff. I used to bring in a box of cereal and eat like just dry cereal out of there because I was part of that. I knew no better. So
Yeah, I think so. You're at the beginning of your journey. And so
Mhm.
going back to these young men, they're at the beginning of their journey, they're having results, and they're probably going to, because their testosterone, whether it's being enhanced or not, is at the highest it's ever going to be.
Yep.
Right? Their body is very ready to accept whatever adaptations they're being
Or the stimulus.
stimulated with, right, in the gym. I mean, we were all like that. If we had all started working out like with the knowledge that maybe we have now when we were 18, 19 years old, we'd be probably in much different places. I had pretty good knowledge, but it was all about just lifting heavy shit, right? And that caught up with me, over time. But I was ahead of the game in some parts of my life, but too far ahead of the game in others in terms of joint health and shit like that. But this comes all the way back to this training to failure piece and how it's influencing things. So we see a couple studies come up that say reps don't matter, sets don't matter, as long as you're training towards or at or near failure.
Yes,
you're going to grow muscle. And it's all coming out of the bodybuilding camp. It's all coming out of the bodybuilding camp. I don't see, like, going back to your performance athlete coaches talking too much about this right now. I don't see, some of the guys that work with the Niners here in town that are pretty well known. We're living in San Jose or Santa Clara County, or our friend Mike Potenza, who's the head strength conditioning coach up at the Golden State Warriors, who was here at the Sharks for forever, calling me up and going, hey, guess what we just did? We just changed our entire training protocol because of this new study that came out, to your point. So let's talk about, like, where are the missing pieces, or where are the holes in this whole thing? And, what are the takeaways from these studies or these things that are happening right now? What are the pros and the cons? I mean, where do you want to start with that?
I mean, I think the first point I want to make is kind of what you just mentioned, is a lot of this lens is coming from the lens of what is maximal hypertrophy growth or muscle, what is going to build me the most muscle, which at the end of the day, what's going to come up on the feed the most? The people that look good, the people that we always say like look good naked, right? The people that look good, they got the 6-pack abs, the big pecs, big biceps, all that stuff. And so this training idea, this is from the lens of purely what's going to build the most muscle hypertrophy. And that's a lot what, especially the younger generation trains. That's the style they train as. That's how, that's what their splits look like. That's what their training looks like. That's who they're looking for the information. When really in reality, like, yes, who doesn't want to build more muscle? I want to build more muscle. You look better, you feel better. But a lot of the nuance there is, I can think for myself when I trained that style for a long time, and then I tried to go play basketball, and that was one of my first loves, was playing basketball, and I felt like shit. I couldn't move. I had no dynamic control of my body or mobility or anything, right? So I think the first thing is there's a lot of nuance of, that's not the only goal that everyone should have when they're training in the gym. It's just, how can I build the most muscle possible?
Yeah, I think that's a huge point. Like, muscle is important, right? And it should be part of the plan, but it's not all of the plan.
Yeah.
How are we so what is the goal? And more importantly, why?
Yes.
Right? I'm building this muscle as a means to stand on stage in board shorts or a bikini.
Yeah.
And be judged based on how much muscle I have in my frame. Totally different goal than I need to be strong in order to present and compete in an event like, I don't know, a triathlon, the tactical games, the CrossFit games. So obviously it's very, very different, but we take these things and we run with them, and all of a sudden it's become, doctrine, it literally overnight, that this is what we have to do. And a guy like, we were just talking about the Sam Sula cat, no disrespect, I think it's great, but if he jumps on that train and says this is the best way to train, guess what all those kids are doing? They're all doing the same thing.
Yes.
We'll see where it ends up. But I think it kind of comes back to, like, how do we define fitness? What are the goals that we have? And where does building muscle fit into that goal? And how does it fit into that goal? Specifically within your training program, because there may be periods of time where I am focused more on hypertrophy. There should be a period of time where I maybe focus more there, then it's more strength, then it's more capacity, then it's more hypertrophy, then it's more strength, then it's more, capacity. We may be cycling through these things. The power component maybe shows up there. There's an muscular endurance, cardiovascular endurance component that shows up there. And that strength component maybe moves further down the priority list depending on where we are. But if we're cycling through all the time, so those different domains of fitness, then this little thing we're talking about, this little trend we're talking about right now, doesn't really fit in so great.
Mm-mm.
However, if your goal is just purely bodybuilding, and you're not cycling your programming, and it's purely hypertrophy all the time, I think you're going to run out of gas at some point anyways. And when I say gas, I just mean you're going to find yourself limited.
Yeah, there's just going to be a diminish of return for the
Yeah.
effort that you're putting out.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's another thing that I sort of look at here. But, you know, like what are they talking about here when they're talking about like, look, just train to failure or at near failure and you're going to build muscle? Is this a new concept?
No, it's not a new concept. But again, it's like most things when we finally find a study that starts to support something, even if it's not the meta-analysis of the global body of work, it's just a couple studies that support it, people run with it. But, you know, people have been training to drop sets in failure and, you know, crazy amount of fatigue for a long time, which again is different than training close to failure, right? There is nuance there.
Yeah, so let's talk about this. It sounds like semantics. What do you mean?
Yes.
What do you mean?
So, I mean, you know, the person who's in support of this would say that they are very aware of what their failure feels like, and they're dipping their toes close to it, but they're not actually going to it, which I think they could argue that some of the issues that come with training to failure, they're trying to avoid. But I would argue one of the biggest things is, what does your failure actually feel like?
What does that even mean?
I even just saw a study that people, even with RPE, even more experienced lifters, still miscalculate their actual RPE when they're actually tracking like meters per second on the bar and what their actual performance is diminishing, what they feel their RPE is, or how many reps they feel they have in reserve. It doesn't actually improve that much, even with experience. So if you're saying like, oh, I know I could have done this for 12 reps, so I'm going to stop just shy of that for 10 reps. Is that really what you could have done?
You already made up your mind ahead of time?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, and again, there's always, what's the nuance of this? Because there's people running in all different directions with this data. People find a body of data, they don't know how to interpret it, and then they run different directions. So I think one of the issues is people saying that there's not a whole lot of reasoning for tracking and progressive overload and these progressive plans where you're actually having goals of rep ranges as long as you're training close to failure. But again, what does that look like week to week? How does that actually feel? Do you actually have a good understanding of that? What about these other physiological factors of like, okay, maybe that failure last week, you weren't tracking that, but you had shitty sleep last night. How's that going to affect you training to failure? How is you training to failure or close to failure today going to affect your CNS and your output for the rest of the week? How's it going to affect your other training days? So I think there's all this nuance that you can't just run with this like simple training technique and that dictates everything.
1,000%. Those are all really great points.
Yeah, it's two things could pop up for me. First, I think it's really myopic. Secondly, I think it's very vague.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't really identified anything in terms of like what's working and what do we know works versus doesn't work specifically for us, right? So we know that training to or near failure builds muscle and strength. This is not a new concept. So again, the whole thing around, it's not about reps and sets. Well, it is if you're trying to stay organized and understand what at or near failure actually means for you in the context of whatever the modality, workout, period within your programming is. And that's the important piece to understand here, because whether it was 12 reps with 2 RIR, two reps in reserve, or it's 12 reps, with an RPE 85%, right? You have to know what that is.
Yes.
And the only way to know if you're actually hitting that or not is to go to failure, right? You have to go to failure to understand what that is. So if you're just going, about your day, walking in like, I think I was near failure, like it got hard. What is hard? How do you measure that? And how have you measured that over time to understand what really hard is against all these other maybe subjective things that you're talking about there with regard to, sleep, nutrition, fatigue, recovery, the fitness to fatigue model. When we start to look at that minimum effective dose, and this goes back to kind of what you were saying before. But it's backed by science, and this is how to do it, quote unquote, optimally as a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
That terminology, just what the fuck does that even mean? Like, I don't even know what that means. I would like to think that any coach that is training in the realm of human performance at all has some type of scientific background or basis for the things that they're doing. I also understand there's some anecdotal stuff there, which I totally respect and appreciate. But like optimal just means that you understand what's best for your client or yourself under the current circumstances, given the current demands and the current goals, like, and understand that at a very, like, a high level of awareness of all of that stuff. And I think what this comes back to is people that don't have a very good level of awareness anyway are jumping on board with these fads. And so this thing is going to run rampant for a while. It's going to go for a while. There's going to be a lot of posts. There's going to be a lot of people out there jumping on this train. But if I'm sitting here poking holes in it, we've already talked about some of them, some of which are, first off, this is a new concept. Two, you were talking about the whole RPE scale. And we can look at like RIR versus RPE, right? And the challenges with that and understanding what that really means. Like, how do you know your RPE was an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10 if you waited till the end of the workout let me be more specific. Let's say you're inside your first 5 sets of the day for whatever your workout looks like. And let's say you started under the bar on the squat rack or whatever. And you got to, and you have this whole leg workout, planned in front of you. You get to set number, again, well, let's say you're doing like a 5x5, right? And you're supposed to be working at an RPE of 8, or 7, or whatever the hell, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. And you get to set number 3, right? And you go, man, that was, I think I'm right about that, whatever my prescribed RPE is for today, and 7. And then you get to set number 4 and you're like, oh, that was a little easier. I just did the same, my 5.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt more like, still looks like a 7, maybe a 6-ish, maybe it's not as much. And then I get to set number 5 and the weight still feels a little bit like you're basically trying to guess, kind of where you're at versus, and my point of this, I guess, talking about this is like RPE to RIR and the reps in reserve. If I get into that bar and I'm doing, let's say you're going to do a set of 10 with 2 reps in reserve, right? Or set 10 to 12 with 2 reps in reserve. So you're getting somewhere in this zone, right? And maybe it's 9, maybe it's 8, maybe it's 10. Inside your rep, you need to be getting around 10 to 12 repetitions. That's real-time measurement.
Yeah.
Because as I go through my sets and I keep getting underneath that bar and I have a high level of awareness, then I'm dropping into on set number 3, and on the last set I did 9, right? And I guessed that to be 2 reps in reserve. If I get to 9 again, then I was wrong on the first time around.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Then I was 9. I was wrong on the first time around, and I should be hitting more like 8. Right? And if I'm not hitting 8, then that means I'm not working at, if you start to try to calculate that across to your RPE, I'm not working at that level.
Yes.
So again, I think one's real time versus one is like post, workout evaluation. And I think people get confused there. But this comes back to, you got to know what failure is. Like, what is failure for you?
Yeah, and that's where the tracking comes in.
Yes.
As well.
Exactly.
So.
And I had made a post about this, it feels like maybe a couple months ago, but the difference between RPE and PRE. So RPE is rate of perceived exertion. So that's very subjective. That's how the weight feels. But PRE is perceived rate of exertion, which doesn't feel that different, but it's objective. It's more based on data. You can use, there's apps and different devices that track the actual meters per second of the bar. Or you can get it from your coach or someone watching the lift. How does the bar appear? It's moving, speed, how your fatigue look. Because RPE is which is again, just directly tied to RIR, which is tied into training close to failure, is so subjective. And there's so many factors that go into it. Are you stressed at work? Are you in a state where you're feeling generally kind of fatigued and maybe you're just not about that training session that day, versus actually, it's going to lie to you and actually you can actually do more. You can actually load it up more. You can actually, train to a higher degree. But sometimes that gets lost when you're just trying to go, oh, is this close to failure? Is this close to that? And that's where you're tracking progressively. That's where I think that needs to be tied in with RPE and RIR and training to failure, because then you can know there is some actual data supporting progression and calculations and things like that. And it should be a combination of both. There's nuance between both.
100%. The smart athlete and the smart coach are tracking other things too. Again, like that subjective data, like sleep, nutrition could be objective, but also subjective, depending on how you're looking at that. All those things go into, because they're all going to play into what is failure and what isn't failure. Everything matters. So yeah, other holes that come into this are, if that's all you're focused on all the time, what are you leaving out of the mix in terms of maybe when I look at like fitness, total fitness instead of just hypertrophy, what other things do you leave off the table if you're just thinking, train at or near failure all the time? How does that impact the other parts of your training program throughout the week, the month, the day? If you're doing double days, or if you've got different, if you're trying to train different modalities, say a run and a lift, or let's say you're in the field, you're like a first responder, maybe a law enforcement officer. How does training like that impact you? Like if you just go in and you just exhausted yourself to failure at the 8 a.m. workout before your shift starts at 9.
No bueno.
And then you get into a foot chase at 10:30. Like, what have you done in terms of taking away from your actual ability to perform? And where is failure? How are you rating failure now?
Yeah, it could be a life or death
when
situation.
your buddies are running past you, chasing the guy, or you can't keep up, or something worse happens, But, how are you rating the failure at your failure there? I think those are things that people just don't take into account. I mean,
I think we just saw, I think it was David, I always can't say his last, Skolnick. Did they say his last name?
Skolnick.
Skolnick. Yeah. All right, Skolnick. He just made a post about what you guys talked on the podcast when he was on about training should improve your day-to-day.
Every aspect.
I remember I used to train, because again, I used to train this style, and I would be sore. I was sore every week, all the time. I was progressing all these different things, but I was sore. I couldn't do day-to-day tasks, let alone go play basketball, whatever. And your training, yes, you need to progress. You need to you need to work hard, but you still want to be able to go do the activity you like after your workout. It shouldn't be taking away from that.
Yeah, I think that's defining what progression is. If the progression is purely muscle hypertrophy and nothing else in life matters, well, then go do that.
Yes.
Right? If that's what it is, but that's not most humans, and I don't think it's most people listening to the show. They have shit to do. They have other things they like to do.
Yeah.
Right? They have responsibilities and liabilities outside of the gym or just putting on muscle. So the parts that you cut out are muscular. Did we cover this already?
No, we did not.
Muscular endurance.
Muscular endurance.
Power, like that.
Strength, power, mobility, cardiovascular endurance, complete training to failure all of the time. Like in one of those avenues is going to take away from those other things somehow. That's just the way it works. So how do you balance that? And I think, again, it's how are we defining, fitness? It's the 600-pound deadlift. That's fitness. Okay. It's the 10K, the person that can run the 10K the fastest. It's the, how many pull-ups can you do? Right. It's how much do you bench press? They're all weird ways, right, of doing that. So go back to the optimal bodybuilding coach or the optimal coach, like a human performance coach is trying to train somebody to be an optimal human, is going to understand all of those aspects and how to put them together. Again, if your goal is solely to step on stage or put on as much muscle as you possibly can for whatever reasons those are, training to failure is never going to go away. That's always going to be a thing, but there is a balance that comes in here. And again, jumping on this trend of, well, now I'm just going to go into the gym and get a couple warm-up sets, and I'm just going to, I'm training, it's chest and arms day or whatever, chest and tries, and I have no organization to it other than I'm going to pick up weight and go to failure, whether that's 30 reps or 5 reps. I'm getting at or near failure. I should expect the same result. Wrong.
Yes.
You're not going to get the same result.
Well, and I think, again, there takes the nuance of like, one, it's negating what do other attributes of fitness to those train. And then 2, your ability to get close to failure, which we've already talked about. But if maybe you can build muscle with doing sets of 5, but one of the big keys that we're trying to get with that is you're also developing strength. So if your goal is to develop strength in addition to that, you can't do sets of 20, even if there's data to show you can build muscle at that. You have to do sets of 3 to 5, 1 to 5, right? You have to lift some heavy shit, right?
You have to get stronger to get bigger.
Exactly.
You have to.
Yes.
Doesn't necessarily work exactly the same with the ratio going the other way. You can get stronger without getting bigger. And I think that's where you're going with this. And I just wanted to pause in the middle of that and go, just so people understand where we're going with this. Like, if you intend on getting bigger, you have to get stronger. Training strength is a prerequisite to getting bigger.
Yes, exactly. And I think on the other side of the spectrum is there's people, again, that rep ranges don't matter. You're training close to failure. All the whole rep ranges we were given for domains of fitness is kind of bullshit. Like, I think a lot of people are taking it to that. But hey, if you need to train muscular endurance, that's also an attribute of fitness. So you need to train higher rep ranges if you want to be able to, I don't know, cycle up the hill that you need to have
More
capacity to, right? More capacity, more ability to deal with metabolic stress and these other factors outside of just, do you have a bigger muscle or not? There's more nuance there. So,
yeah, I think so. As you started getting into that particular end of it with regard to like, what else am I trying to train, or what else am I trying to get out of it? When training at those lower rep ranges to failure, you're putting higher demands on your body in a couple of different ways. And there's going to be a couple of prerequisites to that in my mind. One is skill. You're going to have to, yeah, I mean, that bench press is a skill, right? The deadlift is a skill, the squat is a skill. You're going to have to be really good at those things. And if you're not good at those things, again, jumping on this trend going, oh, well, I'll just go to at or near failure. That's one of the upsides to understanding what RIR is, right? So that, whereas RIR isn't going into where I collapse to the ground, right? Yes. Again, going back to my 8 to 12 rep range or 10 to 12 rep range example a little while ago, it's going to where I can't perform the movement efficiently or effectively any longer. And within that, it means maintaining mechanics, proper mechanics, tempos, speed, if you want to kind of look,
the body,
all of these things, right? So that is also skill, and you are fatiguing at different levels in your energy system, like plural,
systems,
through that process. Right. And so muscular endurance is important, right? Neuromuscular fatigue is a thing when we start to get into like, what is the nervous system doing? How is it responding to, what you're putting it through right now? What is the cardiovascular system doing in terms of helping you to replenish oxygen, blood, fluid, take out waste products, bring in, nutrients during those things? And so to boil it all down to just go towards failure doesn't make a lot of sense when we're thinking about this.
Well, and I think, again, if you're looking at this as, even if you're a young high school kid and you're wanting to build muscle, you still need time to build up your connective tissue to be able to tissue quality before you can go train to failure, or you're looking for injury at the start of that.
It's going to shut you down. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So I think on the other end too is why I think we go back to, yes, it's not only you build muscle in the rep range of 6 to 12, but why I still like that range 6 to 12, 8 to 12 is because I find that's a nuanced range of, it's heavy enough so people can feel some load, feel some stimulus, but it gets rid of some of the variability of like these higher rep ranges of, are they actually working hard, right? Because it's funny, in our group classes, sometimes our more beginning group classes here, when we go drop down, sometimes we'll drop down to 5 reps. And a lot of times the participants are like, oh, this is such an easier workout. No. And I'm pushing them of like, I could do 1 rep because I'm an experienced lifter and be completely gassed, drained, worked, right? But they think, oh, it's 5 reps, it's easier. Oh, it's a little bit heavier than I was working, but they're not working close to failure or to a level that is going to recruit any kind of adaptation. So I think that's where you find, okay, that 6 to 12 rep range, it's not just that that's the magical rep range that builds muscle and these other ones don't. It's generally kind of more foolproof working around all these nuances, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you just nailed it. That is a really great example, because what that does is it really articulates the disconnect between people understanding what these fundamentals of resistance training and progressive overload actually look and feel like. What is intensity, volume, frequency? How do I adjust those things? Like what, in terms of total volume to total intensity, what does that mean? Because that's what we're talking about there. Total volume of work in that workout, those group workouts where we're dumping things down to 5 reps is much less. So that means you should be working way fucking harder during that time, right? We're increasing intensity. Again, for a lot of people listening, they're going, yeah, duh. Yeah, but people don't get that. And so you just give them 5 reps on a workout template, or they pull that off the internet, or they purchase this program, whatever, and they don't understand how to apply those 5 reps or what the nuance, as you put it so many times, in between there is. Like, what should they be doing? What should they be feeling? How hard should they be working? And how do they know if they're working hard enough? That's where things get lost. And so we take these studies, as like you're saying, and we just go, oh, here's the answer. People just want to know what the end state's going to be. If I just do this, then it equates to this. No, you're leaving out tons and tons and tons of stuff, right? And again, we can call it nuance, we can call it science, we can call it facts, whatever. We can call it some anecdotes, even, if you start to dig into there a little bit. the bottom line is they're not making that connection. All they're seeing and hearing is like, oh, go to at or near failure. But what is that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And anytime you're training or even talking about training at or near failure, you have to also be talking about what is recovery?
Mm-hmm.
How long do I rest in between in order to be able to go back to that again in the same workout or in the same training cycle so that I can maximize the benefit of what it is that I'm doing? So we use this, kind of this mantra of give yourself the minimum effective dose to get the maximum effect of what it is that you're trying to do, the maximum result. People don't understand what that is. And again, that relationship between I've done this, I know I've worked this hard, I can measure that, right? I've tracked it, I understand what that is. I also know it takes me this long to recover in order to perform that again to get at or near that same level in the same workout. And then I also have my workout organized enough to where I have enough time, and I've organized my nutrition in that time. I've organized my sleep in that time, my stress management in that time, my supplementation in that time. All of those things have happened in that time in order so that I can revisit similar or different movement patterns or intensity levels for that same muscle group. We used the squat as an example earlier, to be able to hit that again and still get the training effect that I'm looking for, which is take it a little bit above threshold, then give it some time so that it recovers back beyond where threshold was before. And we constantly go through this progression. So people don't understand what the progression is, what progression really means. Progression doesn't mean just go in and throw more weight on the bar every time. Or if I can just do a couple more reps with the same weight that I did last time. Yes, that is true. That is a way to progress things. But you're barely scratching the surface with all the other things that come into that. And you mentioned a big one, which I guarantee is going to pop up. Like this Sam Sula kid, man, like I just look at this guy and like he's young and he's resilient and he's got lots of stuff on board to help him out, with being that way. But I'm just going, man, those joints, connective tissue and everything else. I'm not saying he shouldn't do this or he's going to be an old man, before his time, whatever. I'm just saying my gut's telling me, my experience tells me like, you're asking for it, dude. Yeah. Like there's a lot going on there. And by the way, God, what does his insides look like? How does his guts feel every day after eating that stuff? That's I don't even want to think about it. I watch him going through the grocery store. I'm like, Jesus, man.
Walking to the grocery store, by the way, panting, but half the time can hardly catch his breath.
Yeah, it's interesting. So. Yeah, it's interesting to watch it happen in that phenomenon. But what the lengths people will go to in order to get there.
I'm sitting here listening to the conversation, and one of the things that's popping into my mind is the fact that you have to be so in tune with what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're feeling during, and then how you're feeling after in order to really understand, I think, all the intricacies and nuance to training and programming. And there really is a lot. And I think, we're talking about young people at 18, 20. I mean, you even just said, I think it was in your later 20s, and that you didn't really fully appreciate or really understand how all of those things came together. And, it's a lot. It really is a lot. And I think that, anybody that's coming into this or anybody that who has been in it, but still is younger as far as their training age, it's going to take some time, and it's going to take some patience, and it's going to take some trial and error. And I think, again, it goes back to tracking. It goes back to awareness. It goes back to what are you doing and why are you doing it?
Yeah. It takes experience, and there's time, and you got to go through the thing, right? You have to do it long enough and get into an organized program and not program hop. I just had my friend Johnny on a couple of weeks back. He's an active special forces operator, dude. And we talked about the fitness aspect, basically the selection process, having to get fit for that, what that really meant, how he did it, where he went to get his programming, and then how he continues to stay healthy and stay fit in his current job, as tough as it is. And the reason I bring that up is because what he learned along the way, because he got into this a little later in the game than most people do in a much different way. It's a really interesting episode if you haven't listened to that, just how he got to where he's at the unit he's at. It's way different than any pathway I've heard or that you would typically hear. the point of that is he was very mature in his approach to training himself. And he purchased programming from somebody that's what they do. They prepare people for the selection process. And his experience with other guys, like in his own process and kind of watching them program hop and not staying in things very long at all because they were going off feelings, right? And like, oh, it's not working for me. But his point was like, how do you know it's not working for you? You haven't done it yet. You haven't even done the thing yet. Like you haven't gone down the path long enough to understand whether it works or not. You're making an emotional decision or you're getting squirreled. You're being distracted by something else, which is eliciting a feeling and this knee-jerk reaction. I'll go back to what I said. Our buddy Mike Potenza up the Golden State Warriors is not knee-jerk reacting to anything that's coming out on Instagram right now. He's going to look at it and he's going to be aware of it, but he's not changing Steph Curry's strength and conditioning program based on this type of shit.
You're talking about $1 million athletes.
Yeah,
you don't want to blow them up.
Plus, he's
or
smarter
else you're blowing up your job.
He's a brilliant dude.
Yeah. And we could take this any direction with anything in health and fitness or anything, honestly, anything science related, but of not taking a few things, a few studies that come up that can support anything that there might be some truth to, but it shouldn't throw everything out with the bathwater, right? That's how you say it. Yep. Anyways, that it shouldn't change your whole training protocol. It shouldn't change. Right. It shouldn't change the other data that's there, right? There's still nuance and there can be truth to other things. But then another part of this is it shouldn't get rid of experience. It shouldn't get rid of things that, yes, maybe the data is pointing to this and I should listen to that. I should be aware. But my experience tells me that I know that maybe training individuals, I've seen a lot of success training them this way, or I've seen a lot of success training this person this way. And it's not just, hey, this one study that comes out is dictating everything I do as a coach or as someone getting into the health and fitness space as, a participant.
A client or something. Yeah.
So,
I think it's a really good point. I think that's, when we put together our programs, is one of the things we were thinking about, like our online type stuff, because it's easy for us to do it here. We're in front of the people. Right, we literally have hands-on with our clients, and so the programming piece just makes a lot of sense. And clients don't have to worry about it because we're literally walking them through it and then giving them the homework when they walk out the door, both physically and verbally, and all of those things. When we started to explore more of the online stuff, we're like, look, how are we going to help people? Because I can write them a workout, but it won't mean anything, and they won't get the benefit of this if they don't understand the nuance and the things in between. How do I do that for that participant who wants to learn, but also doesn't have a background in, exercise physiology, biomechanics, functional anatomy, any of that stuff? How do I do it without boring them, but also educate them so as they go through any program they go through, going down the route, or see stuff come up on the interweb or wherever else, they can relate to it and to their own training program. And so that took a little bit more work and it cost us a little bit more money to kind of put the content together on that. But that's where like Strong and Max come in, because these are these periodized programs. When I say you haven't been in it long enough to understand anything, they're literally like 4 months long. There's a drop in the bucket in terms of your fitness journey. And it's a very small investment of time when you really think about it. If you think of the longer term, if you're like, look, I've been program hopping, or I've been doing these things for a while, I'm not really liking the result I'm getting, or I'm not getting what I think I should be getting, or I think I need a little bit more education so that I can get more out of what I want to do and what I'm currently doing or want to do in the future. That's really how those programs were sort of put together. And, that's why that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of in those programs. It's not the workout itself. Just take all the shit in between and you can apply it to your own workout, quite frankly. I mean, the workout templates, this is not hard to do. It's movement patterns, right? It's just put some things together, put it in a way that's sort of accessible to people, if they don't have a lot of equipment, like here's some basic stuff you can do. But that's where Strong and Max came in terms of that periodization and teaching people the things they need to know about RIR, RPE, PRE, right?
Yep.
Rest and recovery, and that subjective and how to measure the subjective and objective data to make decisions about your own training program going forward. So when this shit hits you in the face, like what we're talking about with the internet, like right now, they're like, where does this fit into what I already know, not only just in general about as a participant, but as an active participant in my own program?
Well, I was just going to say, as far as Strong and Max, I think more people that I've talked to that have gone through Strong, they've gone through Strong a couple different times as well because of the nuance, because of the inner workings of the program, that the first time they've gone through it, they understand, and then they go through it again, and they're still building upon what they built upon the first time. So, I mean, I've talked to 2 or 3 people that have gone through it 2 or 3 times, and then they've moved on to, and then they've gone on to mass.
Multiple times.
So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he did, and I think you may have been irritated with me because I pushed you to keep doing it. Like, this is like kind of a full disclosure. Like, I really pushed Ryan. I said, look, man, I really want you to go through this program. Keep going through it. Not because he didn't know what he was doing. That's ridiculous. Because I really wanted him to feel what we were trying to put out there so that he could articulate it better. And also, I knew it would have helped based on what I knew about his history. I really felt like it was going to help him in his journey so that he could then apply what he already knew even that much more. And it's not that the program did that for him. It was him staying inside a program long enough to understand for himself what worked best for him to then be able to like articulate it or whatever else to somebody. And maybe you want to talk to that experience. I mean, that was kind of my push. I think Ryan's going to really benefit this if we could just keep him in it long enough, because you had been program hopping for a long time.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I mean, for myself, I'm honestly pretty ADD in general. So I get really into something, then I get really into something else. So when I apply it to my training, that was hard for me for a long time of just doing random movements that felt good. Even though, again, I knew these nuances and I applied them a lot to my clients, I didn't always apply it to myself. So I feel like in these past few years, probably past 4 or 5 years of my training history, and then definitely since I've been here with you guys, of my patience in my training blocks, my patience in feeling out what I'm trying to accomplish in the movements, settling into a program. And then I can know that I'm going to ramp up, I'm going to work once I get more of a feeling, has changed a lot, not just in my training, how I implement it, but honestly, a lot of my patience as a person, as a human, as a husband, is that things can take time. I don't need to rush to the end result. I don't need to rush to get through this program or go to the next thing or get to this number. I know that if I just keep my head down and slowly stick with it, that I'm going to get to the results that I want. I just have to trust the process. And I think that's what a lot of people, especially when you're young, you're so amped up on all these hormones, and ready to go and want to take on life, that you're so eager to get to this end result. But keeping patience in your training, and again, it's a good life lesson for keeping patience, of just keeping your head down, trusting the process, not needing to get to where this person who's been training for 10, 15, 20 years, where they're at, especially by starting it with all that's around of PEDs and things like that, running to that too soon. But having patience, trusting that you're learning how to move, learning how to build muscle, learning the nuances, being okay with making some mistakes, growing from those mistakes, and applying that to your own training and then the rest of your life. I think that's where a program like that really teaches you.
I could not agree with you. I mean, that was an excellent explanation. I think, for those people that really dig into the training side of things, they're not only ADD, but they're also OCD. And, to some extent, I mean, we all are about our own programs to an extent. And that in this case, it's helpful, because you can't, that not so much the ADD when it's early on, but once you start to learn about what all the things that you just said, it just, like, having that plan in front of you just makes sense. Like, I don't have to think about it. I trust it. And I know, like, if I just do this, let me just get through today, because tomorrow will be there when I get there, right? But if I get through this today and I do it in this way, it sets me up for tomorrow. It sets me up for the next day. And it's there and I can see it out in front of me. And so if I ever have any question about, like, what the hell am I doing and why am I doing it? Like, you can look in the past and go, oh, well, that's where I was over there and here's where I am now. And I can look forward and go, you know what? If I just keep doing this, it's highly likely, because I remember 2 months ago when I started here, I was really anxious or really like, just like ADD, like this is not working or it's not hard enough. And so going back to, like, even what we were saying before, I mean, like, those programs, any program, like, specifically as it comes to strength and hypertrophy, you should be looking at that, again, how it's put together. And it takes time to do this, like, build skill, right? Build strength, build capacity, build strength, then build some hypertrophy, then build more strength or some capacity at the same time, and then really push your strength. And that, guess what? Go back to the beginning. Work on your skills again, right? And then get into, hey, let's build some muscle, right? Some hypertrophy, some really basic shit. Like, then let's build a little strength and capacity, and then let's really push the strength based on the new muscle, the new capacity, and the improved skill that we have. I mean, it really is a basic formula, but it just gets bastardized so many times again with the program hopping. If you don't stay there long enough, you never get to reap the rewards of the work you're putting in. Yeah. So 2-word takeaways today. I think one is the one that you just said, which is patience. So important. And then the second one is don't distraction. Don't be distracted by this stuff. Look, pay attention to it. I mean, we're going to see some other interesting things. It'll drive some other studies and some other, conversation around it. And I love that happens, but it also bothers me when I see people get distracted and, like you say, just completely scrap what they're doing or move on, jump on to the new train. So just don't do that.
Yes.